Hello, everybody, and welcome to another iconic episode of A Good Lawyer podcast, part of the EIL network, Excellence in Lawyering. I am Stephen Garcia, your non-lawyer, coast-to-coast opinion host, and this is where I delve into the captivating world of brilliant legal minds, such as with our guest today, in hopes of enriching yours. Folks, we have a great one today for you. This gentleman, born in South Carolina, however, went to the University of Georgia School of Law. He is a mighty bulldog, and as every one of my listeners and viewers know, that's a big plus for me. There's a lot of layers to this gentleman, but I'm going to let him tell you all about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the podcast Andy Conn. Andy, welcome to A Good Lawyer.
Thanks, Esteban. I appreciate you having me on here.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Trust me on that. So tell folks, as we stay here in Texas, where are you sprung from? As we alluded to earlier, you were born in South Carolina, but it looks like you spent a great deal of time in Georgia.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is where they built all the X7 BMWs that you see riding around the road. Big sort of textile industry type town. But I only lived 2 hours from Athens in Spartanburg, and I grew up a huge Bulldog fan. My dad actually played football for Georgia, and my mom was a baton twirler. So even living in South Carolina growing up, I grew up a diehard Bulldog fan.
That is fantastic. I noticed that there's a huge story there as well. I was going to ask you later, but why not ask you now, right? I wanted to ask you about the Super Bowl connection.
Yeah. So, well, it was long before I was alive, unfortunately. I didn't get to partake in the Super Bowl festivities back in 1974. But yeah, my dad was a Super Bowl champion, won the first Super Bowl the Steelers ever had, actually, back in the days of the Iron Curtain. There's, I think, in his rookie class alone, they had 5 Hall of Famers. So he played with some pretty incredible players.
He also played for the New England Patriots, correct?
He did. Yeah. We have a hard time when the Steelers play the Pats because we're big fans of both. And he spent more time with the Pats, but, has that Super Bowl ring with the Steelers. So we're a little bit, down the middle there.
And I mean, that's another podcast right there. But I wanted to get back to you. You were recently honored with the Civil Justice PAC Award from the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Civil Justice PAC, I was the chair of the PAC here until recently I rolled off, which it was fun serving in that role, but it's also fun not having to put forth all of that effort. But the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association here in Georgia, half of what they do is education and networking. The other half is really political in nature. And, I've been really involved and interested in politics for years now. So that award, I think, was, I guess a way of them for thanking me with helping with so many others who helped to fight against tort reform and help to preserve the rights of everyday Georgians against large corporate and insurance interests.
From what I'm reading and learning is that the Civil Justice PAC does do a lot of great things for the community there in Georgia, all around the state, actually. So, I mean, kudos to you for that award. You're also on the board for this phenomenal organization called Brightside Child and Family Advocacy. Really interested in knowing about that.
Well, that one's very near and dear to my heart. It's an organization that's rooted in essentially advocacy for kids in the foster care system. We think that defects just has everything covered, but defects, you're probably not surprised to hear, doesn't get enough funding. They are completely understaffed, not due to the folks that are in those roles. They just don't have the funding to be able to go to bat for these kids. So the CASA program, which is a nationwide program, is something where they go and advocate. CASA will go into and learn this child's story. Some of them have several children that are they're advocating for, and they'll basically represent their interests in court. And so Brightside is how we rebranded the CASA in Chatham County. And the reason really being because we go sort of beyond just the advocation in the court system. And now there's a plethora of things and services that are provided. We have several houses in Savannah now where, the goal is reunification, right? And so there are houses where parents who have been, kids who've been displaced from their parents can actually sit down in a comfortable, secure location to be able to see parents and loved ones while they're in the foster care system. We have scholarships for those that go on to graduate and, are 18 and are no longer technically in the foster care system. We also have services for, helping people get on their feet. Because once you turn 18, most of us are lucky. I had two great parents and a great family who helped support me. Even when I moved out of the house, the support didn't stop. A lot of these kids don't have that. And to be an 18-year-old and all of a sudden have this realization that you're on your own is a very difficult thing. So this is an organization I love being a part of. I've been a board member, I think, for 4 years or so now. We have an executive director who's excellent, and Kate Blair, and something that I'm really passionate about.
It sounds like it. And it just the organization, like I said, did some research on it, just doing a lot of great things. There also a section, if you will, that handles within Brightside that handles childhood cancer as well, or?
Oh, so that was a different thing. So that was something that I used to be more involved with. I still give to this organization. That's the Kids Cancer Alliance. So that was something that my cousin, he was the executive director of this organization years ago, back when I was 20 years old, I think I started with that. He invited me to become a camp counselor at this camp for basically kids who have been diagnosed with cancer at some point. Some of them are in remission and are doing quite well. Some of them are not in very good condition at all. But it's a place where they can come and be together and just sort of be normal kids and do what normal kids do and have
Right.
pool time and water ball or water balloon fights and archery and all these different things. So I was a counselor at that with that organization, I think for 7 or 8 years. I still give to them. And, when you have a practice and 3 kids, it gets hard to get up to Kentucky for a couple of weeks during the summer these days. So, but that's another one that means a lot to me and is a great, great organization.
Well, I mean, like I said, man, hats off to you for that. We are huge advocates of children here, especially on, the missing kids. It's a shame that we have to deal with this on a daily basis, but there's a kid missing every day or multiple kids missing every day. We try to do our best to try to find them and bring them home safely to their families. We're huge advocates of children with cancer and a lot of these illnesses that unfortunately that kids have to go through, and just it's a sad thing, but we're here to help in any way we can. So hats off to you, Andy, for that as well. So listen, on the great side of your legal advocacy, I just came upon this nearly $19 million result from a medical malpractice settlement that you had a very, very big hand in. Without getting into anything confidential, what did that case for you demand from you, not just as a lawyer, but as a human being carrying someone else's tragedy? Those the circumstances in that, from what I gathered, were pretty catastrophic.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is a confidential settlement, so I can't go into too much of the details.
Right.
But certainly, I can speak on the toll. It was one that took, I think, 51 depositions before there was a settlement, and it was about 3 years of litigation, and a family in a very unfortunate situation. one of the most gripping situations I've ever been a part of, and just the nicest, greatest, hardworking people that you can possibly imagine. And so that was one I poured blood, sweat, and tears into. I put everything I had into that case. And, but I told this to the clients. I was like, cause they're very sweet and they're very appreciative that, I was able to help them out. But I told them, I was like, long days and late nights are a whole lot easier when you're working for somebody like them, who you just, no matter how hard it is to be a lawyer, which is not that hard, right? We like doing it. It pales in comparison to what they were going through, and the suffering that they had and the pain that they have, and really the medical needs that their loved one needed, was something that I can't even imagine going through. And so, again, long days and late nights were nothing compared to what they were going through. So that makes those 51 depositions much easier to stomach.
And I, without knowing, right, without being in your shoes, it just, to me, it shines a different light on things, doesn't it?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, the things that we take for granted every single day, I know that's kind of cliche, but it's so true. Some of just the small things that, when you can't do them any longer, or when it's just much more painful or difficult to do, um, man, I guarantee you that there are folks in this world, especially these clients, who wish they had the opportunity to do some things as simply as we can. I mean, just like, graduating high school or getting a job, things that we almost sometimes are reluctant to really put in the effort to do. As soon as you can't do those things, or there's a higher challenge to doing those things, you'd be begging to have that reluctance back, to do those sorts of things. And so that was the situation in this particular case for sure.
I've had a number of conversations with different individuals, some lawyers, some not, but some of them say, they see all these billboards, right? 50 million here, 100 million there, and they're sometimes jokingly they say, I just wish one 18-wheeler would hit me. I don't want it to hurt me real bad, but I'd like to get $100 million out of that. And I think a lot of these people, they're missing a huge factor here. And number one, they should be, grateful that when they do get into a situation, that the lawyer's not talking to their estate, right? That
Hmm.
they're actually talking to them, because
Right.
I think folks lose sight of the fact that those kind of numbers are just things that happened they wouldn't want to have happen, like you just eloquently alluded to. You don't want what came along with those numbers, and you don't want to have to be without a loved one, or someone who's physically challenged, or yourself possibly. So I think people miss that fact. What do you say to that?
I think that's absolutely right. And I'm confident in saying this, that I have never gotten a settlement or a verdict that has ever come close to compensating somebody for what they actually went through. Right. Most people like to brag about their awards. And listen, I've been very fortunate in my career to have had several very large settlements and verdicts. Um, and it still doesn't come close. And that's the thing is, I just tried this case a few weeks ago where it was a wrongful death med mal case, and um, we got a very good verdict in the case, and we felt good about that. But what that family would do to get their loved one back, they wouldn't take $17.33 million. They wouldn't take a billion or 2 billion or all of Elon Musk's money, right, to have their loved one back. So 17 million sounds like a lot of money until you're talking about not having the person you love back. And then on the ones where it's not a death case, the reason why you see these high settlements and verdicts is not because somebody just got hit and undeservingly got large sums of money. It's because they're going through literal hell.
Yeah.
And that 19 million almost settlement that you mentioned, I know for a fact that family would give money. They would give all that back and more if they could go back in time and have their loved one not in the circumstances that he's in today. $19 million ain't enough, right? That's a lot of money, but it ain't enough for some of these things. And so no matter how good of a lawyer you are, we cannot ever possibly get enough money for the folks who are in these circumstances.
And I think that's a great message to get out there, because there are these factions of people out there that are looking for that kind of payday, and that if they could just step 30 minutes in the shoes of these people that have gone through this, it would change their whole outlook on that perspective.
Totally agree.
So you came from a pretty high respected trial firm before where you're at now. Most folks would say, "Hey, you know what? I'm pretty set here. Why fix what's not broken, right?" But how does it feel to bet on yourself and get out there and just start Conn Law Firm, and just know that you're betting on yourself and you're going for broke on this? What does that feel like?
I think my answer will probably is definitely different now than it was when I first started Con Law, and it'll probably be even different in 5 years. A year and a half in, it feels great, and I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of good friends in this industry who have brought me in on cases. A network of folks who've helped support me in this role and help build Con Law. Right, my name's on the door, but there's an army of people who've helped really get there. If you had asked me a year and a half ago when I left that cushy job with an excellent firm with excellent attorneys who I respect and am still friends with to this day, I was terrified. I was optimistic and I was excited, but I was absolutely terrified. But is one of the best decisions I've ever made. I could have been happy at that firm. There's no doubt about that. But having something that is sort of everything, all the decisions are mine, right? And so if I mess up, that's on me. But if my successes are mine as well, and so that is, there's a lot to be said about that. I never really cared about having my name on the door at my former firm, and I didn't think that I really cared about that at all. But when you see it, you take pride in it, and it gives you more stake, I think, in what you're doing, which there's egos aside, which is hard to put egos aside with things like this, but egos aside, that is just one more reason, right? That when you're putting your name on something, to put in that extra effort, to go the extra mile for these clients, because you don't want to let them down. You don't want to let Con Law be the thing or the person that lets them down.
And how has the community responded to you?
It's been such a blessing. I mean, Savannah in particular. I mean, I have a lot of friends, a lot of local senators. Derek Mallow, give him a shout out, and Mike Juan Green is another one, and Alan Westbrook. A lot of folks in this community who've just been um, so supportive. And then I've got a great team. My paralegal, Carrie Daly, she actually works remote from Alpharetta. She does an excellent job. Just hired another paralegal a couple of months ago, Javante Middleton, who's already off and running and kicking butt. But all of those folks and all of my referral sources who've trusted me to bring me in on cases where they have clients that they care about too, right?
Mhm.
And so it means a lot from those folks to give their trust in me. So it's been awesome to see. I hope I give back to them as well, but they certainly, the folks who have helped get me to this point, I'm just, thrilled with.
I can imagine the feeling of someone that you know, right, is entrusting you with someone they love and know, for you to help them in whatever situation they may be in. So yeah, it's a lot of weight to carry, but when you go in there with that confidence, and like we said earlier, you're betting on yourself, and you know what your abilities are, and you know you, and that's just got to be a great feeling. I mean, it has to.
Yeah. And I was the smartest thing I did when I went out on my own was call every single person I knew who had done it before and ask them for advice. And this plaintiff's bar we have in Georgia is really special, and there's not a single person who hung up the phone or didn't spend a ton of their time giving me advice, telling me which services to use, but also just, life advice and sort of what do you want to get out of a firm? And so I'm very lucky, definitely, to have all those folks in my life.
That's great. When you have that kind of support, I mean, how can you go wrong with that kind of support, And man, like I said, when I saw your overall story, I said, man, I got to get this guy on there. I got to get this guy on the podcast. So tell us what it's been like as far as, has the caseload increased tremendously, or are you on purpose keeping the caseload down to get more? I don't know if this is the right way to say this, but maybe to pay more attention to the clients. Am I saying that totally wrong?
No, I think what you're saying is totally on point. I'm probably somewhere in between, right? I pride myself and I market myself on having low volume of cases, and I do. Relative to many firms, I have a very low volume of cases. The type of cases that I'm used to working on, though, are sort of high catastrophic type injury cases, wrongful death cases. I even have worked on some toxic tort cases and some governmental type of liability cases. And I probably have a few too many of those, but I've also, my MO my whole career has been one of I'm kind of a workaholic, and I love the work. And if I'm not kind of crazy with work all the time, I feel like I'm not doing anything. And so I'm definitely low volume, but probably have a few too many cases right now.
Okay. And that's not a bad thing. I
Hmm.
can definitely relate to the workaholic aspect. I need to be moving all the time. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
So what do the next 5 years look like for you, Andy? I mean, I know technically you've just kind of gotten started with con law a little bit, but what do the next 5 years look like? I mean, for you?
It's such a great question. It's something I think about all the time, and I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to tell you what 5 years looks like. I'm actually in the process right now of looking for an associate attorney, and one of the guys I was interviewing the other day, I said this to him. I said, "I'm trying to figure out what con law is. I want to grow, but I don't want to grow too fast. And honestly, I don't want this to be sort of a mega big firm. I want to kind of keep it small and sort of family oriented, but I also need some help with some of those cases that I was just mentioning. So 5 years, I would like to grow the firm in a sort of moderate fashion, but to still be able to deliver the same sort of quality to my clients, to still be able to not have clients that are numbers, to have clients who still all have my cell phone, which every single one of my clients gets my cell phone. My cell phone's on my business card when I'm, not dumb enough to leave it at home, which happens all the time. But I want to keep that. I never want there to be a situation where I don't know a client, at least to some degree, who has trusted Conn Law to represent them on a case. And so to be able to do that, you can't grow too large. So I think 5 years from now, we're bigger, we're robust. Maybe we have some more support staff, but it's still a boutique firm where clients are still proud to say that they're represented by us and still are able to call and text me whenever they want to.
That's right. And that's something AI can never replace.
Right. I hope so. I don't know. AI is pretty scary.
Well, I always like to say AI will never know what it's like to feel love, right? Or what love
Yeah.
is. It'll never know what pain is. Uh, but there are some jobs out there. Being a lawyer is not one of them that I think AI will eventually replace, if you will. I know that's a horrible way to say it, but I don't think it will never replace 12 men and women on a jury. It will
I
never
hope not.
replace a lawyer. No, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah.
Judges, the jury's
Yeah.
still out
Right.
on that. but
Yeah. Right. That's right. Yeah.
So, in this journey, since you started it, when you knew, apparently, from what I'm reading, I did a lot of research. You kind of always knew you were going to be a lawyer, from what I'm gathering. And, when you go all the way back to that time when you knew you were going to be a lawyer and when you began the journey, if you come all the way to now, August 13th, 2026, what does the law mean to Andy Conn today?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, probably what first kind of got me onto that, I don't know if you remember the old show Boston Legal.
Oh,
James
yeah.
Spader, yeah,
Yeah.
James Spader played a
Denny
character, Alan
Crane.
Shore. Yeah, Denny Crane was one, yeah. But Alan Shore was the guy played by James Spader who him and Denny Crane were, had that relationship, and they were silly and kind of did all sorts of crazy stuff in the beginning and the middle parts of the episode, but the end of the
Yeah.
episode always had some impassioned court speech by Alan Shore. And I remember thinking, like, man, and like he was helping people too, right? And I always remember thinking, man, that I'd love to be doing that one day. And so, yeah, I really, that coupled with, I just like to help people, especially people who sort of can't fend for themselves. We talk about kids with cancer, we talk about foster care kids. Those are
Mhm.
some of the most vulnerable population we have in this country. And so it was a natural fit for me to be a plaintiff's lawyer in particular, not
Mhm.
just a lawyer, but a lawyer who can help folks. And so yeah, being able to do that is, it, other than being a husband to my wife and a dad to my three little
Right.
kids, it's the greatest privilege of my life is to be a lawyer and to be the type of lawyer in this industry, in this state, that I am.
You have a beautiful family too. We saw the photo you had posted of you and your family. Yeah, big family, wonderful family. Uh,
Thank you.
I tell you what, I guess the in service of others, right? To be in that business to serve others, in a way, I guess I think there's no greater reward than that, right? Than to be able to help somebody, because I consider you the voice for the voiceless, or at least for folks that believe they have no voice against, this billion-dollar corporation that is either hurt or worse, somebody in their family, their loved ones, and they feel like there's no way I can go against this company or entity that has billions of dollars. So that's where you come in, and you you're this ray of hope and sunshine for these people that are, quite frankly, meeting you at the worst time of their lives.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm a ray of sunshine. I'm probably more pessimistic than I would like to admit. But certainly the types of cases I'm used to handling, you described it the exact way I describe it, which is exactly that. Whatever that incident, that day that I'm representing somebody for was the worst day of their life. Almost always. God forbid if it wasn't, because when you've had a son, a 15-year-old who's had a stroke that went undiagnosed, or you're a 30-year-old who's paralyzed due to a product defect, who's got two little girls at home who you can't take in the boat or go hunting with any longer, or you're never going to see that loved one again. I sat in a family's living room just yesterday who had lost their daughter, who's just 30 years old, and great family, just awesome, awesome folks. And they said something to me that almost 100% of my clients say. They said, when I started talking about the fee agreement and what I charge, they said, we don't care what you charge. We're not doing this for the money. We want the policies and practices of this hospital change. We don't want
Yeah,
this to happen to somebody else. And we want to speak the truth of our daughter. And that's such a damn privilege, right? Because we hear about frivolous lawsuits all the time, and I always think that's so funny because I can't think of a single client, certainly not one that I have right now, who's in this for that reason.
I agree. And I hear that too. And I hear like, oh, well, lawsuit abuse this, lawsuit abuse that. I said, yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that the high amount of divorces count as lawsuits. And if they would do their homework, they would understand that instead of just
Yeah.
piping off and saying things they don't know anything about. But yes,
Right.
I agree. I've heard some horror stories as well where, the lawyer had this company good. They had him good, but the wife said she didn't want any money, any part of it, on and on and on. Uh, all she wanted was an apology kind of thing. And uh, long story short, they wound up spitting in her face. And that's when she got mad and told the lawyer, go after him then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you know what? It's not about the money. You said it, we'll say it 1,000 times if we have to. It's these people would rather have their loved one back, or as you said earlier, so eloquently, turn the clock back to where the circumstances aren't the way they are currently. So,
Yeah.
Andy, I think that's a great place for us to leave it for today. I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule and spending it with us to enlighten us and definitely to shed some light on some of life's most horrible tragedies that occur that we wish they didn't.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been fun talking with you, and I'm not sure I educated anybody on anything, but it's been a pleasure, and I really appreciate you having me on here.
Well, we definitely want to offer you an open invitation to this podcast anytime you want. We'd love to have you on a bunch. We enjoyed it. We can't thank you enough for being here with us. So, Andy, tell folks if they should find themselves in, these horrible situations where they need your legal expertise. How can folks reach you?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way is my email address is Andy, ANDY, at Conn Law Firm. That's CONN lawfirm.com. And go look at the website, connlawfirm.com. When you are searching for an attorney, do your research. Like you've done today, Esteban. I appreciate your diligence there, but do your research. Go make sure that you're going to be represented by someone who doesn't treat you like a number and who actually has results to be able to you know, be your advocate in court.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Conn. Andy, I'm going to say goodbye to the audience real quick. I'll be back with you in 2 seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Conn. Folks, there's a lot of doom and gloom going on in the world out there today. You're seeing it on TV, social media. You're even seeing it in the streets that we're walking now. Uh, do yourselves a favor. Get out there and love somebody today. I will see y'all up the road. I love y'all. I will forever. Bye.